Oh, my bad, I didn't see it there. I was a bit busy with my infinite zero cost refreshes. Nothing too crazy, you know? Okay, wait. Maybe something like that's child's play to you. So how about just duping every single copy of Cyrene in just one sitting? Better yet, why don't we do it 2 times, just because we can? Hello everyone, after 4.4's Fate update, we've gotten even more crazy ways to break currency wars. Yes, as you can see, in the span of just 2 days, I was able to get 3 god runs, which I forgot to save the 4th one, but anyways, being able to fill the board with 3-star 5 cost that often really tells you how stupid 4.4's update really is. Now, today's video will have 4 different strats, with the first 3 aiming for the god setup, while the final one I'll mention will just be a team guide to beating Wealth Creator 50. So depending on what you need, this video will probably have it. But without a further ado, let's get right into it. To start off, we need to understand the cheese that we'll be using, and it all revolves around the new Holy Grail bond. Now, why don't we first check out the wiki and look at all the different interactions. Oh wait, we can't, because there's literally 0 information. Thanks, Hoyo. Instead, I'll just give my summary and discoveries that I made so far. Now, first and foremost, you need to understand that this bond is not a combat bond, as it gives you quite literally nothing to help you win fights. Instead, it's our first Gamba bond. Yes, it's all about gambling. And by doing so, we can get stuff like this. Yes, 8 perfect projectors just like that. But I guess the question now is, how? Well, it all has to deal with these different trials. We have normal trials, aka blue, or a cursed trial, aka red, which is what we're gunning for. On the screen, I'm going to document my current interpretation and the different trials I've encountered. From my experience, I believe the trial system looks something like this. Blue trials generally appear in Bond 2 and 3, with higher quality ones sometimes appearing in 4. Red trials have a low chance to appear in Bond 3, and are usually what pop up in Bond 4 and above. However, for what we want in our runs, it's located somewhere around here. So, with us now having a base understanding of the bond, we can finally get to the cheese. Now, the first strat I want to cover is actually the zero cost refresh strat. And yes, it's as insane as it sounds. Now, I found this strategy on YouTube and was like, there's no way it actually works. Oh, it actually works. Just don't tell Hoyo about it because it might get patched. Now, I'm gonna link the original video down in the description as I'm not trying to proclaim that I found it. But what I can do is make this strategy more well known so everyone can have their fair shot of getting that 3-star Cyrene or Silver Wolf. By the way, if this strategy gets patched, I will have a pinned comment, but if not, then it's good to go. To start off, we need long-term gains to make this strategy work. Yeah, it's another one of those. Currently, there's a 7% chance of rolling it at the start, so good luck re-rolling because it also took me many attempts. As for the second part of the combo, it revolves around these 2 red trials, but more specifically, this right here. Yes, what we want isn't the reward, but actually the penalty, where shop refreshes cost 1 more. If there are other trials which have this penalty, then it'll also work, but for my video, it'll just be referencing these 2 which I know exist for certain. Now, at this point, you may be asking, isn't the store penalty bad for us? Yes, it is. But that's where the bug comes in. When picking up the trial, our shop refresh would be 3 cost, which is of course bad. However, once we finish long-term gains, instead of going back to 2 cost, it actually shoots us all the way down to 1 cost. At this point, it's not quite 0 yet, but remember how these trials are trials? Well, if you finish the challenge, it actually removes the penalty. So while long-term gains pushed us to 1 cost, finishing the trial removes another, thus pushing us to 0 cost refreshes. Yes, infinite refreshes in currency wars. Now, there is only one rule. You need to finish long-term gains before you finish the trial. It absolutely cannot be the other way around. And I found this out the hard way when making my video. I actually got this set up super early, and when it didn't work, I was like, I freaking knew it was too good to be true. I then went back to the OG Chinese video, translated it with Gemini, and then there was this big warning saying long-term games must be completed first or else you break yourself. And well, it took me another 12 hours before I got my second attempt. So please don't mess it up. But besides that, it really is that simple. Get long-term gains, get the trial, finish long-term gains, and then finish the trial. However, there must have been a reason why it took me another 12 hours for my second attempt. And this is because the Holy Grail bond is the bond of RNG. Yes, there's not a guaranteed chance to get it, as it's a pool of challenges. Looking at my chart, I believe there's two main opportunities to get this, at bond level 3 and 4. I believe the trial to get the store to level 8 sits in here, while the store to level 10 sits in this one. Just keep in mind it's also like a 20 to 30% chance of getting a red challenge in the third bond. If it's double blue, then GG go next. So with all of that in mind, how do we actually pilot the fate units? Well, that's actually the best part of the strategy, because we don't need to play it. Luckily for us, we're never gonna use the fate units. Their only purpose for us is to sit in the corner and pass the salt once it's their time. For me, I literally used break the entire time and just swapped to them once I had enough for the bond. This also means no strategy code because you can quite literally use any team you want. Now, there's two main ways to play this though. You can either check up to bond level 3 and reset if it's not there, or you can go to bond level 4 with an archer at plane 3's shop. Both of my attempts were the latter, but with the OG video, it was the former. Now, just know that depending on which version you get, it can be either really easy or really hard. If you don't get the easy level 8 store version, just make sure you're saving a buttload of money because getting a level 10 store takes a lot of it. Now, as for this strategy's U rating, I'd rate the difficulty either a 1 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, depending on which challenge you get, as there's a significant difference in the money you need for each one. As for if it's Wealth Creator 50 viable, it is, however, it will just depend on which version you get. So again, 1 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 in difficulty. Overall, I'd rate it as a solid 8 out of 10 high roll strat. It has a very simple premise, with the only thing holding it back being RNG. But hey, that's literally every high roll strat. Moving on, it's now time for my method, the 8 projector strat. And it's as the name implies. We simply get 8 perfect projectors and then put it on Cyrene or Super Wolf, and then just win. Now unfortunately, it's not quite as easy as it sounds. So before we get into that, let's see our opening options. For the start, there's 2 routes you can take. You can go route A and not care about the investment environment, which I'd highly advise against. Or route B, get the Fate emblem or any peppy environment, which has a chance of having said emblem. And I highly recommend this one because we basically double our chances of getting what we need. So assuming we went to route B, what's the plan? Just like before, we played completely normally with our strategy of choice. Just make sure you pick up 1 copy of Rin, Gil, and Saber and throw them to the side. However, this time around, we also want to grab any Super Wolves we come across, which you'll later see why it's important. But moving on, let's see what trial we need for our strats. And it all revolves around this red trial. Lose 88 HP and all of your money for 8 perfect projectors. It's because of this requirement that I'm saying that it will be difficult at higher wealth creator levels. You have 1 or 2 unlucky nodes and it's a run reset. Yes, we need to maintain high HP for a majority of the run to be able to finish the trial. Or you can just play at Wealth Creator 1, which is like really easy, so the trial is actually like a joke. Completely up to you. As for the plan though, it all starts at plane 3's shop node. Generally speaking, you got a pretty good chance for a 5-star to pop up. As for what we want though, it's gonna be Archer. However, if there are no Archers, then Cyrene is fine. However, if you've got a 5-cost Super Wolf, then just try to aim for Archer. After which, just level up your shop and spend all of your money for whichever component you're missing. Now, once you do, you can just place the fate units on the field and gamble. Now, I have this big warning. Make sure to not put any of them on the field until you've gotten the entire setup. The reason why is because A, if you get the trial early and don't have enough HP, you can't select it and your run is bricked. And B, you lose all your money and HP. Now, my brain was kinda turned off in the run that I succeeded in, because I activated the challenge first before getting all the components. After which I had 8 perfect projectors, but nothing to do as I literally lost all of my money. But I got so lucky selling my board and getting a clutch Cyrene. And you better bet I got a bit bolsterous. But to reiterate the strategy, just play normally while collecting one of each fake character and as many Super Wolves. Main high HP until playing 3 shop node, which at that point, get your archer, Cyrenes, and overall just spend all your money. Then, place the fate units on the field and finish the trial. By the way, the trial we want appears in both bond level 4 and 5, which is why I recommend you getting the Holy Grail bond. Now, yes, you essentially have to beat 2/3 of the run nigh flawlessly and then have to gamble at the end. Which means that there will be many runs where you get completed doo-doo and you basically wasted 45 minutes of your life. But to finish up and give my rating, I'd rate the difficulty a 0 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 depending on which wealth creator you play on. This strategy can be wealth creator 50 viable, but it's also like really hard. I did have a few runs at wealth creator 50 where I managed to get the plane 3 shop, only to get shafted by RNG, so I just played the rest at wealth creator 1. Overall, I'd give this strategy like a 9 out of 10 because of how flexible it is and how you can potentially get this in legit any run, as long as you keep the fake guys on the bench. Let's say you're at the final boss node and can't really upgrade anything else. As such, if you have the spare money around and happen to have high HP, you can just buy the fate units and roll it. You literally have nothing to lose and have everything to gain. Now, for our final high roll strat, it's actually going to be a familiar one. While I was making this video and going for the 0 cost shop strat, I actually came across the God combo, which I used in my previous Currency Wars video. And I couldn't just pass it up, so I accidentally nabbed myself a God run. As such, I thought it'd be worth to mention because you'll probably come across this combo if you're planning to do this 0 cost shop strat. Now, as you may or may not know, this strategy will revolve around Procurement Officer Gold or Prismatic, which will be rerolling in at node 1-3 until we get it. However, this time around, we actually have 2 investment environments that are viable. Of course, we have long-term gains, but now there's also this heroic entrance option. Basically, it gives you a sealed 5 cost in plane 1. Normally, it's pretty useless because we can't use them for many nodes. But with Procurement Officer, we can actually use them to start duping 5 costs. Yes, 5 costs in just plane 1. A plane 1 wealth sounds crazy as hell, guys. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try it, but it sounds hella cool to do. Now, if I had to rate this strategy, then I'd of course give it a 10 out of 10, because it's genuinely so fun refreshing and getting a stack of 5 costs. But also, the fact we can get early 5 costs that early seems hella broken. So with all that, if you just keep these 3 strats in mind, one of them is bound to happen. Now, to finish off the video, I'm gonna cover one of the strongest teams in Currency Wars at the moment, which you can use to beat Wealth Creator 50. Himeko. But I guess the question is, which Himeko? To keep it short, Himeko's unique bond has her copy her selected ally school bond. But more importantly, she gains access to unique buffs depending on which Astral Express member she chose. And there's quite a few different Astral Express members. So, which version is actually good? Well, from my own personal experience, I believe Skill Point and Energy via Danheng and Sunday are hot garbage. After that, there's Welt, which I also don't think it's that good. Because tell me how I lost with a 3-star Himeko with 1000 on-field strength and 184 Firestorm Surge stacks. It's literally unlosable, but I still somehow lost. After that, we have Elation and Break Himeko. Now, Himeko on these teams is actually pretty useless. However, because she does copy the bond of her ally, it actually makes it pretty easy to get the prismatic bond levels of either version, making her allies do hella damage. However, I'm not a fan of this method because Himeko is just a bond bot. And thus, that leads us to our final Astral Express member, March 7th. And that's where we get the thumbnail, Durian Himeko. When paired with March, allies hit would deal damage equal to 8% of their shield strength, and because we got pretty good scaling, the results end up being something like this. However, if you've tried it yourself, sometimes it deals tiny PP damage. So what gives? Well, it's likely a case of build and a teammate div. With the name of Durian Himeko, you may assume that it's just like Durian Finon, which if we put on 3 chassis of Retribution, we basically win. However, if you do this with Himeko, it's pretty thorough and kinda guts her damage. And this is because the main draw for the chassis is the reflect damage. However, with March 7's buff, we already have a pretty good counter multiplier via Quake. As such, all Himeko really wants is pure damage. And we can do this by equipping as many Firestorm Surges as we can. It is the best item in the mode, and Himeko can use it pretty well as her skills via her allies proc hit a lot of times. But if you can't get any Firestorm, then Chainsaw and the chassis are okay as just stat sticks. Now, for the final item that Himeko needs, it's actually the Adaptive Exoskeleton. Because the damage formula is based on a per individual thing, it means that even if we were to have 12,000 on-field strength, it'd be completely useless if the enemy doesn't hit Himeko. As such, increasing her taunt via this item is basically a must. Moving on, what about our team? Well, to keep it short, we need 4 Astral Express members in Plane 2 and 6 in Plane 3. Now, getting that 6 Astral is vital for our run, making Welt also a must for this mode. Besides the fact he's the best unit in Currency Wars, it also gives us the 6 Astral bond. Now, this for Himeko in particular is extremely important. This is because the Quake damage via March is the base damage times the amount of Light Rail stacks. Without this, we're likely not surviving Plane 3 unless we get really lucky. Now, because we have 6 Astral, it also means we only have 2 to 3 slots left for useful teammates. For this, don't pick up Sustains. March and Himeko provide plenty, meaning we don't actually want the 4 shield bond. Instead, we want pure damage. Units like Tribi, Sparkle, and Ceredra all work. However, I want to focus on Mortonak's Blade. Besides the fact he applies Giga debuffs, he is also a fantastic user of Bastion Projector. His high health plus him being off-field, it generates hella shields for the team. So for your team's items, just 1 copy of Bastion Projector alongside something with fragility, and your run is good to go. Now personally, I think rerolling for the Astral Express bond is OP because it means we don't need Dan Hung and can actually use someone useful, but it's not required. So if I had to rate this strategy, I'd rate it a Himeko out of 10, would recommend again. It's super strong in Plane 1 and 2, assuming for Astral as the train does a majority of your damage, and once we get to Plane 3, we can just use Welt, which gives us a lot of time to stack Firestorm Surges. So even if the boss ignores Himeko for quite some time, the one time they slip up, it's gonna be insta nuke. It's also super easy to play as it has built-in sustain, so really noob friendly. And yeah, that's all the OP strats I got for you today. Hopefully it was pretty informative and a fun watch. This video took a while to make with all the testing and footage, but I think it came out pretty good though. If y'all want to see more stuff like this, a like or sub would be really awesome. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching. good luck in rerolling, and peace.